The moment my husband smiled and told me to eat my soup, I knew something was terribly wrong. 3 months later, he was standing in a courtroom wearing handcuffs, staring at me with pure hatred in his eyes. At that family dinner, he thought he had already won. What he did not know was that one tiny decision would destroy everything he had planned. My name is Ava Morgan. I am 29 years old. And the night my husband tried to poison me was the night I finally saw who he really was. It happened during a Sunday dinner at his parents' house. Every week the entire family gathered around the same dining table. His mother cooked enough food for an army. His father told the same stories he had been telling for years. And everyone laughed like life was perfect. That evening seemed no different, at least until I saw my husband move his hand over my bowl. It happened so quickly that anyone else would have missed it. His fingers hovered above my chicken noodle soup for a split second. Then something dropped from his hand into the steaming broth. He immediately turned back to his father and continued talking about work as if nothing had happened. But I had seen it, every single second of it. My stomach tightened. I stared at the bowl sitting in front of me. Whatever he had dropped inside was already gone, dissolved completely. Then my husband looked directly at me. His smile seemed normal. His eyes did not. There was something cold behind them, something calculating. "You okay, sweetheart?" His voice sounded casual, but I could feel him watching me, watching for that first spoonful. I forced a smile and nodded. "Just tired." Across the table, his mother was talking about dessert. His sister was helping one of her children. His father was discussing golf. Everyone seemed completely relaxed. Meanwhile, my heart felt like it was trying to break through my ribs. I needed to think fast. I stood up and excused myself to the bathroom. The moment the door locked behind me, I grabbed the sink and stared at my reflection. My hands were shaking, but my mind was racing even faster. I wanted to call the police. I wanted to run. But what would I tell them? That I thought I saw my husband put something in my soup? That was not evidence. That was suspicion. And suspicion would not save me. Then something clicked inside my head. If he really had poisoned me, he would expect me to eat it. And if he expected that, maybe I could use it against him. When I returned to the dining room, nobody paid much attention. The conversation continued. The children laughed. Plates moved around the table. Then opportunity appeared. His mother got up to check on the pie. His sister became distracted by the kids. My husband looked down at his phone. I moved quickly. Without hesitation, I switched my bowl with his mother's and touched bowl. The bowls looked identical. No one noticed. I sat back down calmly. A few seconds later my husband glanced up. He saw me eating from what he believed was my soup. Instantly his shoulders relaxed. The tension disappeared from his face. For the first time all evening, he looked satisfied. That reaction told me everything. A few moments later his mother returned and sat down. Without realizing it, she pulled my original bowl closer and began eating. The color drained from my husband's face. "Mom, wait." His voice cracked. She looked at him strangely. "What is it?" "Nothing." He forced a nervous laugh. "Just save room for pie." But she had already swallowed 2 spoonfuls. I watched panic spread across his face. The same panic that had never appeared while he thought I was eating it. For several minutes nothing happened. I began questioning myself. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I had imagined everything. Maybe I had just made a horrible mistake. Then his mother started coughing. At first it seemed minor. Then her hand began trembling. A few minutes later she pressed a hand against her chest. "I feel strange." The room immediately changed. Conversation stopped. Everyone looked toward her. She tried to stand but her knees gave out beneath her. My husband caught her before she hit the floor. "Call an ambulance." His voice sounded desperate. But I was no longer watching his mother. I was watching him, and what I saw was not concern. It was fear. Fear that his plan had gone horribly wrong. The ambulance arrived quickly. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital while the family followed behind. I stayed behind with his sister and the children. The second everyone left, I returned to the dining room table. The bowls were still there, so was my chance. I carefully collected both bowls, the spoons, and every remaining drop of soup. Then I sealed everything inside containers and hid them. Evidence. For the first time that night, I felt like I had control. Later, I contacted my brother Ethan. We had not spoken in years, but he worked in laboratory testing. When he arrived, I handed him everything. Run every test possible. He looked confused. "Ava, what happened?" "I will explain later. Just please do it." The following 24 hours felt endless. Meanwhile, my husband acted like the perfect husband. He comforted his family. He sat beside me. He held my hand. He even cried when discussing his mother's condition. The performance was flawless. If I had not witnessed what happened, I would have believed every word. Then my brother finally called. The moment I answered, I heard concern in his voice. "Ava, there is a massive amount of digitalis in that soup." My blood turned cold. Digitalis was heart medication. In controlled doses it helped patients. In larger doses it could stop a heart completely. Can it kill someone? Without question, and the concentration we found was intentional. Someone wanted the person eating that soup dead. The room spun around me. Every doubt disappeared. My husband had tried to murder me, but something else disturbed me even more. His mother had been prescribed digitalis. That meant he had access to it all along. Suddenly, months of unexplained headaches, dizziness, and exhaustion made sense. He had not started poisoning me that night. He had been doing it for months, slowly, carefully, preparing for a final fatal dose. The deeper I searched into his finances, the uglier the truth became. He was buried in debt, gambling losses, threatening messages, loan collectors, and sitting in a folder on his computer was my life insurance policy. $500,000, $1 million if my death appeared accidental. I finally understood exactly what my life was worth to him. A few days later, I caught him again. His mother had returned home from the hospital. While everyone was downstairs, I followed him quietly upstairs. From outside the bathroom, I heard pills being crushed. The exact sound I had feared. I began recording. Then I opened the door. He froze, standing beside the sink with a mortar and pestle filled with white powder. For several seconds neither of us spoke. Then I told him everything. The soup had been tested. The poison had been identified. I knew exactly what he had done. At first he denied it. Then he realized the lies were no longer working. The mask disappeared. The charming husband vanished. The monster underneath finally stepped forward. "You are smarter than I thought," he said quietly. The way he looked at me sent chills through my body. He took a step closer, then another. Suddenly he grabbed my wrist and slammed me against the wall. "You should have eaten the soup." The words came out cold and emotionless. Not angry, not desperate, just cold. His hands wrapped around my throat. My vision darkened. I could barely breathe. Then another voice shattered the moment. "Ryan, what are you doing?" His mother stood in the doorway. Behind her stood his father. They had heard everything. Every word, every confession, every lie. The look on his mother's face was devastating. Not anger, not disbelief, pure heartbreak. "You tried to kill your wife." Then her voice broke. "And you poisoned me instead." For the first time, my husband looked trapped. Within minutes, police officers arrived. The recording, the laboratory results, the financial records, and the evidence from the soup were enough to start building the case. 3 hours later, he was arrested while trying to flee. The trial lasted months. His lawyers fought hard. They claimed I framed him. They claimed I fabricated evidence. They claimed his mother's poisoning was accidental. None of it mattered. The facts were stronger than the lies. Medical testing revealed traces of digitalis in my body stretching back months. The poison matched his mother's prescription exactly. The recordings captured his actions. The jury needed only a short time to reach a verdict. Guilty. When the judge sentenced him to decades behind bars, I felt something unexpected. Not happiness, not revenge. Relief. The nightmare was finally over. A year has passed since then. I live in a different city now, a different home, a different life. Trust does not come easily anymore. Maybe it never will. But every now and then, I think back to that dinner table, to the moment I saw his hand move above my bowl, to the single decision that changed everything. He believed he had planned the perfect murder. Instead, one careless movement exposed the truth. And that truth cost him everything.